When I was 16 years old, I stole a book from Chamblin Book Mine, and Ron Chamblin chased me down in traffic miles away, called me an asshole, and took his book back. I mean, the store is a manifestation of the guy, right, who created it. That's absolutely true, and it bears his name. His work is now him. In that way, when you are walking around in Chamblins, you're kind of like walking around in this exoskeleton of the man, you know? It's definitely a manifestation of his personality because it's overflowing with books. The aisles are probably too narrow because, you know, so much is squeezed in there, and he literally built the place up by hand, you know? So in that way, the store is an outer form of the person.
Without Chamblins, Jacksonville would be, I would say, a lot less of a robust city to live in, because we're very lucky that we have the largest bookstore in all of Florida right here. Like, to me, that's its own tourist attraction by itself. Local authors and writers, Chamblins is a really important place because a lot of times this is the first institution that they get their book on a shelf. Just having that sense of accomplishment for many authors in this city this is like where they got their foot in the door.
So it's 49.33
An enchanted literary institution that's been around for the last 50 years. It's not just a place to purchase books or coffee. It's a place to establish community. It's a place to share your thoughts and ideas with others, or to just intrinsically find them yourself and to get lost.
People bring a lot of their friends, relatives. So the first person to come is usually the person that's been here before. They look around the person that they brought in to see their expression. You see this all the time. They want to see if they're impressed by the tons of books, you know. And they're excited, you know, and this kind of thing. They look forward to a good time. But I think the best thing we do, what I like to try to do, is to have an excellent variety of books. That's the main thing I want to concentrate on, because you know, that's what people like and want. Probably 80 feet or 60 feet of philosophy books, you know, from 6 foot down. But that's the difference. See, that's the reason people go out of my store. They'll have, you know, like this many books instead of like this many. Cy Crawford, in '75, I lived only several blocks from Cy Crawford when he was selling out of his house about twice a week. And for some reason, as the months went by, he wanted me to continue the bookstore. So the more I began to think about it, I said, well, that might be a viable thing to do. And I opened up on Herschel Street, moved next to San Juan on Herschel for 4 years. Then I bought the building on Roosevelt in '91. We were all concerned about the competition in like the big, what they call the big box stores like Barnes & Noble and Borders and eBooks, and that, of course, that had some impact, but not very much. And then we were concerned about the internet, but we're fortunate. to be still strong. Most of our competitors in Northeast Florida have gone down. One of the best things to do is to, if you can, buy your property, own your property. That allows us to pay employees more.
DJ Boom. DJ Boom, make it boom.
It's essentially a second home. I think a lot of us feel like we basically live here. We don't even see the chaos a lot of the times because the maze is something that we're used to. He's got over 50 years now of knowledge on books and documents and all kinds of things that don't exist on the internet. And we don't know what to do with them sometimes, and we have to go running to him still, even those of us who have been here a really long time. He's generous, and generous to a fault, really, with both employees and strangers that walk in off the street. But ultimately, he's complicated.
See, I've grown reluctantly. By that I mean to say, I didn't buy a building because I said, oh, I want to be big, I was forced by business and by need for space. So I call it reluctantly you expand. And when you do it that way, you have strength that you have a good foundation. You're forced to expand. No, my family, we were not a book family. We had no books in the house to speak of, maybe 3 or 4 books. So I didn't really I didn't enjoy reading. We came from a poor background, so therefore, to some degree, the reason I kept going was because I knew nobody's going to take care of me, see. My father didn't give me $1 for college. They even wanted me, I was trying to go to college, they wanted to charge me rent in the house, to stay in the house. Can you believe that? So that tells you, after a while you say, well, nobody's going to take care of you. Nobody's going to take care of me. So therefore what you do, you overextend yourself, you overcompensate, and you want to make darn sure that you take care of yourself, There you go. Sometimes on some mornings I'll come out here and it'll be so still that you can see the moss hanging down, and it won't. You try to see if you can see any moss move. Just a game, you might say. And then after a few minutes or so, you'll see one piece of moss just move just a little bit. Come here, Kai. Lucy, come here. Yeah, Marlo, come here. Yeah. Pepper. I have no idea what this stuff, what the hell is this? Oh, postcards. Type, I think it's typing, yeah, typing, C-C-E-D. In fact, that typing teacher, well, she came in the store, this was in 58, 1958. Well, she would come in the bookstore up until the early 90s. My typing teacher, Robert Elia High School, yeah, year ending 59. Anyway, that was I've always been was a C and D and E student. Good times. Almost like storage, but I do some book research. I'm behind on organizing, but that's the nature of the beast. Yeah, too much to do. Then there's some, I've got some books here, over there, and some in that hallway, but again, no particular reason for those to be here, just haven't had time to process them. Well, she killed 6 of my chickens one day. She killed them all. But anyway, you can't let her get near anything you want. Anything that's small with feathers, you better keep it away from her. We got married about 5 years ago. In fact, it was 5 years ago. Enjoyed a Thai restaurant on Roosevelt for a couple of years, and she started working there. And so anyway, we ended up dating and then getting married. I'm 84 basically, and she was born in 79, so what does that make her? 45, 46, something like that. I actually with that tractor, I dug the elevator hole for the elevator in the downtown store on Laura Street. It took me about a half hour to get it into the building, but I dug that hole. And there again, I don't know what in the world's in here, but it's just books that were good enough to buy. So when I go through a box, I'll swear I've never seen it before, the book before, but of course I had to because I bought it. After 20 or 30 years, some of these boxes, nowhere in the world I could remember. But it's always fun to go through them because you say, oh, fantastic. But having a lot of books like this is like when you were poor, the feeling you had when you had a lot of groceries, a lot of canned goods, a lot of groceries. Same feeling, same thing with books. If you can't buy any more books, at least we've got enough books we could sell for 20 years without giving out. All kind of fun. Well, at least we have some room to store more books. Oh well, I'll get it later. Remember which one. Anyway, I've got to, this has to be replaced. I've got the glass, I just have to replace it. That was kind of interesting. So it's got ties with Bonnie and Clyde and also John Dillinger. Tools all over. That's my fun work when I have time off or days off. Now this is 2 vehicles. You got a 34 Ford like that, but this is a 2-door. It's worth a lot more than that one because of the condition of it. This is worth about, on the market, about $70,000, I think, whereas that's about 35 or 40,000, even in the condition it's in. That's a Greyhound. They think it's a Jaguar. I said, no, this is a Ford. I had the trussed designs calculated to actually handle the weight of books, because you can never have too much storage place for books. Welcome to the warehouse. Yeah, I bought this building in 2008. And this is books that we sell online, this part of it. We list these on ABE and our website. Shannon, how many books do we have online now? Do you know?
About 30,000.
How many?
About 30,000.
30,000? Yeah. This was hanging up at Roosevelt store one time. It was hanging up in the mystery area, and an Oriental fella was offended, so he took it to me and said, "This is not." Anyway, he didn't like the idea we had it up on the. But anyway, we took it off. What can you do? We just now put these shelves back here to this is where the buildings are going. We're going to get rid of these are loaded with books too, by the way. Those tractor trailers. We had one tractor trailer right here, and the frame collapsed. It took weeks and weeks. We had to box up all the books. You know, I left to go in the military about 2 weeks after high school. And just to get away from abusive father. He was alcoholic and that kind of thing. Got out of the military after 4 years, and then got married, and I probably should have stayed married to that first wife. Anything I do, and I try to convey this to my workers, I was to imagine the ideal and strive for it. Therefore, when I had a marriage, if it didn't achieve my ideal of a perfect marriage, then I would say to hell with it. You know, that's just my way of doing things. When I opened the bookstore, I had, in other words, I was kind of surprised that I had women come on to me, and that I didn't have any what do you call it, self-discipline, you might say. In other words, my problem is I was too much of an idealist. I didn't know how to accept less than perfection in a relationship. And of course, what relationship's perfect? But this current marriage, I realize now it's not perfect by any means, and it's just a practical thing. I no longer strive for that. I just go with a practical partnership or friendship or this kind of thing. But like I used to say, oh, I've got to have this wonderful, happy marriage. Well, so much for the 5 marriages. Oh, the cat. And we put some overstock over here. And this is where we get into a lot of the bulk. This is book buys we've done years and years ago, decades ago, which we haven't had time to process. But you can see how the backed up we are. These we haven't gotten to yet. And this is what you see here. This is why I'm going to build more buildings out back. This is a lot of good material. This is good stock. You can see how far back it goes, but we're to the point we can't build shelves because of this backlog. You can see how far it goes. The thing is, these are good titles. They're not mediocre titles. Just things we've selected and bought. Some of this material we bought probably 30 years ago. For some reason, there are 7 of us kids, and that, of course, some are gone now, but for some reason I was able to be somehow distant from the siblings, and I still am. In other words, what I'm saying is, if I didn't see them for 10 years, that wouldn't matter to me. but which is not a good way to be, but whereas a friend, a friend is something totally different than a sibling. You'd almost want to go back in time and find the people in need that were my nephew, for example. But they're gone. He died. He died at 52. His father was a clinical depression, and he would come to me occasionally, and because he would break down and cry and everything. This fellow was a very intelligent individual. Very intelligent, could do anything. He's just, you wouldn't believe it. But I sort of just didn't have time for him. This is back when I was struggling, working 7 days a week. And but anyway, I got a phone call one day, and he said that he had shot himself. And I've never had in my life, I almost threw up. In fact, I got nauseous. He put a 38 in his head, in his mouth. But what I'm saying is, I didn't spend time. You regret these things, because if I had spent time with him, I could have prevented the suicide. So things like that come back, in decades later. The one I'm going to move first is the one in that corner, because if I get that moved, we can at least start putting buildings down that way. Right. And then we can take stuff out of these track trailers, and then we can build another. Yeah, I'm glad I bought this building. If I didn't have this, I wouldn't. What would I do, right? I guess really any young person, I would say, stay with the basics, the fundamentals, or the ideals, because those things take you wherever you should go. You make all those other decisions if you keep those things in mind. And that's. It took me a lifetime to finally realize that. 5 years from now, I'd like to be retired, which I probably will be. And when I was your age, I was a bimbo brain, drinking and raising hell, riding motorcycles and stuff like that. but my 30 workers run the store. I'll have the trust set up where the process of transfer ownership is in the works. So, but yeah, yeah, that's what I want to do. Is because I've been doing this 50 years, right? so it'd be nice to feel better about leaving, because right now I wouldn't feel good. So I'll probably live another maybe 5 years, something like that.
I haven't been back here in a while.
Is there a way out? Probably not.